Welcome to Blue Lightning Healing Meditations. My name is Susie Parker Goins. I'm a channel, energy healer, guide, teacher. I upload weekly. I cover a variety of metaphysical topics, exploring self-growth and how it can help you on your path. And I'll include a relevant meditation experience. You can find me on the web at bluelightninghealing.com or email me at susie@bluelightninghealing.com. That's SUSY at bluelightninghealing.com. Please like, comment, subscribe, favorite, donate to my Ko-fi account, share with your friends, share the love. Thank you. What happens when two friends, a channel and a tarot reader, get together to talk, hang out, and share their ideas on things? Well, let's find out today on Blue Lightning Healing Meditations. Okay, so I am recording, and this is all, here we go. So 5, 6, 7, 8, cue. Welcome to Blue Lightning Healing Meditations. My name is Susie Parker Goins. I'm a channel connecting you with your spirit guides so that you can develop your own relationship. I'm also an energy healer, a past life explorer, and I have fabulous friends. This is my friend today no, let me rephrase that. I'm interviewing today my dear friend, Kevin Walder. He is I don't know, Kevin, you need to tell me, you need to put it into words about what it is you do. And I already know why I love you, so we can go on from there.
Well, first of all, I guess I'm always a little reluctant to adapt to labels. I skate between them. I have a fondness and a deep interest in tarot, and that has been a big part of my life for the last 20 odd years. It's very interesting to me, and I use it as a tool. It's an intuitive tool. It helps me to connect with what I already have. And I use it that way with my clients as well. I work under the assumption you already know. I work under the assumption that you walk in with all your answers. It's just you're not ready to face them yet, or you haven't come face to face with them yet. And the tarot is very good at sort of peeling away the wrapper and letting you peer into what you already know and what you already feel. And you will feel it when you get that message. You'll physically feel it as well as intuitively and mentally. So, and I enjoy spirituality from all angles. So that's my spiritual journey. I came from a very religious background, and I do not consider myself to be religious at all at this point in my life. Yep. So I choose to operate on a spiritual wavelength, which is very personal. So that's another label I shrink from a little bit is I can't really help you develop your own personal experience. I can show you what I've done, and maybe there's something there that will help you, or I can also fill you in on some things that may have helped other people. But that's not you. So
yeah, there are times I call myself a why notian. Why not believe in this? Why not do that? Because I've got a similar background growing up Catholic and spending about 2 years as an atheist, loneliest place to me, and then taking off from there. So you read cards, you talk to them, because I want to get your contact info here right now. So you're Kevin Walder.
Okay.
And your website is Oracle Scroll?
Well, my website is actually kevinwalder.com. It's I've had that for years and years and years. But on Facebook, yes, the Oracle Scroll or Tarot by Kevin Walder are two of the pages that I use.
Oh, and you have books too.
Yes, I do. I have written a couple of books on tarot.
Tarot for Lunch?
Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards. And then the second one is called 22 Teachers, Healing Lessons from the Major Arcana. So it's one where I concentrate on just the personalities in the Major Arcana. That was, for me, was a much more insightful look than I had ever taken at the cards themselves.
Cool. Yeah, I will sometimes do, well, some years I'll do a year spread. So essentially that means I've got a full deck that I look at. But being me, I'll look at it in that moment and kind of not refer back to it.
We're all guilty of that. Yes.
Yeah. So, your spiritual journey has really shaped your philosophy. I know recently we had a conversation about, well, we've already had that conversation about labels and how we are both shying away from trying to compartmentalize our belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to that a little bit more?
Well, as I have a program. In fact, you can access parts of it on the website, which I call Authenticity. And we struggle, and I have no reason. I can't give you a reason why, but it is one of the biggest human struggles we have is our own authenticity. Who are we? And if I were to ask, in fact, I've used this in exercises before with clients. If I were to ask you who you are, and then I make some caveats, you cannot refer to where you live, your work experience, your marital status, how many children you have. You can't refer to any of those things that are outside yourself, those little earned labels that you have. Who are you? And it's that look of, oh, it's amazing. The people that sit in front of me and they have to grope for a definition of themselves. That's my point. We don't actually spend any time developing who are we, and we adopt all these labels. And as far as I'm concerned, and I say this often, labels belong on furniture, clothing, and food. Beyond that, they are of no use at all to us in a spiritual nature. We don't need labels. It's enough for me to know that you are you. And, the other people around us, that it's enough for me to know that they bring their own personality, their own energy. They don't need a label to identify, how they're going to help me, or they don't need a label to identify their process. It's enough that you're you.
So I see that's being an internal process where people are stripping away those things. That whole onion metaphor that everybody loves to use. Are there for me, it feels like there could be shortcuts one could do when someone who is a sensitive could check that energy on somebody. How does that affect authenticity?
Okay, I'm not sure I understand exactly your question. So using a label as a shortcut so that you...
You'll see, I'm not sure I understand the question either, and this is where editing comes in handy. But people use labels as a shortcut because there are labeled, mother, wife, husband, and all those, and that has certain energies attached to it. So if I'm stripping it away and saying and talking about myself in terms of my own experience, that's looking at authenticity, right?
That is, absolutely.
Okay.
And without relying, that's the point, is we rely on all those labels, just as you mentioned, mother, child, sister, whatever your label is, we rely on those to do all of our explaining for us. Yeah. And it's actually shortchanging us because we're not expressing ourselves fully. And that, I think, is where authenticity is huge, because if we're not expressing ourselves and doing it fully and without reservation, then we're missing the track. We're just not, we're failing in our mission, really, to be helpful. Because we're putting all these little labels. And if I were to, I'm an ordained minister. Now, if I walk into some circles and announce that I'm an ordained minister, well, that turns 50% of the people off. it excites 10% of the people, and the rest are kind of milling around trying to figure out which denomination are you?
Well, and then at least half of them, no matter what their belief system, we're going to say, oh yeah, me too.
Exactly. Well, that's true. Yeah.
In
this circle, yes. That's true.
I've encountered that. So yeah, you can go in and say that, and that allows other people to assign those stereotypes or what their perception is. But then identifying ourselves, because self-identification has really come to the fore during the last few years. I've been really reading quite a bit about Eddie Izzard, who is, he says, I've been coming out for over 35 years. Surely you people could handle this. And I truly honor her for all that she's doing. This is why I need a script. I just went down a rabbit hole. But identifying ourselves by our experiences, that takes a level of doing your shadow work so you can see those things possibly.
Yes, definitely. And that is, see, I'm identifying ourselves by our experiences is not necessarily that's not necessarily the wrong thing to do. Using established labels. If you work at Boeing, you've got a label because you work at Boeing.
Yeah.
That is not a distinction that is particularly, I mean, so what?
Exactly. It's not particularly useful or insightful.
It does not tell me about your level of compassion. It does not tell me whether you were a serial killer in years past. I mean, it doesn't tell me anything that I really need to know about you. Who are you? And that's what that's where I was going with the authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, and if I put together a simple little, it's based on tarot, but it's a simple little test that we ask ourselves questions about, you know, how we relate to the world. And I don't have it in front of me, or I would play with it a little bit, but it's really quite interesting, because then you get to the end. I go through all the court cards at first, then at the end we go through the major arcana, and it kind of then you sit back and sort of reflect on, you know, what is the reason you showed up here in this incarnation? Why are you here? And that gets to then you start to really, you start to recognize things about yourself that you overlook. And that's something a lot of us in the spiritual community, we don't give ourselves credit for some of the things that we are capable of doing. And because other people seem to be writing the rules. And that to me is no different than the old-fashioned religion we used to be in, where, you know, you basically, you look it up in the old book and you see what the old book had to say. Well, that didn't really answer many questions for us personally. So it's a little complex.
Well, I think it's if one is committed to finding out who they truly are, there are lots of tools to use, and, you know, lots of people out there who can help you dig down. Because I don't know if you know, with my particular experiences, there are people who want to do it all on their own, and that's fine. But then to be able to have that alternative perspective, somebody who can look at it from a different angle to help you identify more of who you are and can see things that you don't see, or you choose not to see, or that you haven't allowed into your perspective. I think getting that support is useful, and tarot is really good for that.
Yes.
Unless, of course, you're one of those who pulls a card and go, I don't like it. No, I'm pulling again. I'm drawing again. So, so tarot, as you use it, how does it facilitate this process of identifying your true self, and in general?
In general, well, actually, I have a layout that I use. It's in my books.
Oh, good.
I included it in both books. It's called the No Spread Spread. I don't know if you used it or not. The No Spread Spread. Well, first of all, when you first start talking about tarot and you're taking tarot classes, spreads are a big deal.
Yeah.
Excuse me one sec. Spreads are huge. Everybody has to have a spread. You can go online and find a spread that'll tell you everything, like from the birth of your unborn child to, the date of your death. I mean, you can find it all. To me, they're useless because it's, again, adopting someone else's idea of, the map. And when the no spread starts with, first of all, you shuffle the cards completely thoroughly, and then you begin to deal off the top of the deck until you come to the first major arcana card.
Okay, now the major arcana are those 1 to 28. Is it 28?
0 to 20, 0 to 21. So there's 22 cards.
We can see that's my strong suit, pun intended. Okay.
It's from the Fool to the World.
Okay. So it's 0 to 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that will set the plot for your story. Did we need to stop?
No, I'll just edit it out so we can just go back and I'll muff up. No, I have I have a lot of stones on my desk and I shift and they all cascade off. So don't have an orb on there because they will roll off.
Yes.
Okay.
Without the proper holder.
All right. Well, I've got bracelets around it. Okay. So
your major arcana card.
Okay. Start talking again about
the draw.
I want, how you do it, and then explaining what the major arcana is.
Okay.
Because I don't know what the information level, what the knowledge level is here.
Right.
So, okay.
Well, the major arcana are what we usually consider to be the first 22 cards of the deck, and they're numbered 0 to 21, starting with the Fool and ending with the World. And they cover, everything in between, from highlights to, oh my gosh, to, from blessings to warnings. They're all in there. So the no spread asks me to basically shuffle the cards and then deal from the top of the deck until I get to the very first major arcana card. And that's when
using a tarot deck is good. Oracle decks we'll talk about a little later are different.
It'll be, and this spread may or may not work with that. I don't see it working with most Oracle decks.
I don't have any cards with me.
So, I got a couple.
Yeah.
So so then you've got your plot to your story. That's the main story that you're going to follow throughout your situation, whatever it is. Then next to that, you're going to continue drawing until you get to the first court card. And the court cards are the king, the queen, the knight, and the page in each of the suits. And I look at the court cards because a lot of times people will look at them as being like king is going to be a male influence and the queen is a female influence. Well, okay. Those are all characteristics I carry within myself. Those are all characteristics we all share. So whether it's masculine or feminine or whatever, it doesn't matter who your client is, you can come up with the opposite in the court card. And that is then the personality trait that you are going to bring to your story. So you're writing a story here. You've got your plot now, and now you've got your main character.
Oh.
And then you deal out 7 cards in a row just as they come off the deck. And that will be your narrative. That will tell you what you need to look for, expect, be on guard against, or, to welcome. If you happen to get another court card, let's say, well, that's another aspect of your personality that you have to punch up a little bit at that period of time to get you through this situation. If you have another major arcana card that comes up, that's a plot twist.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, you get, oh goodness, you can be all over, but you still have to refer back to your original one because that's still your main story. Okay. The plot twist just kind of, was a bit of a surprise thrown in there that you had to deal with. I read that way for myself because it just it rings. It's like it, and for a reader, trying to read for yourself is often difficult.
Yeah.
But I find that this takes me out of it. I'm no longer so attached to the situation. It's a story, and I can see the story. It's there. It's laid out. And it's much easier to read for myself using that system. And I've used it with clients as well.
So when you read cards when you read cards in general, when you read for yourself, how in depth do you look at the interpretation? Because what I tend to do is like, I'll look at a card and get a general superficial thing and go, huh, okay. And then I move on. And I've had a reading from you and you've delved really deeply into this thing and into whatever we were talking about at the time. Do you do that same thing for yourself?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I recognize the process where you oh, okay. But understanding that, oh, okay, you have to then look, okay, what's before it? What's after it? What's after that?
Okay.
Then it begins to color your information that you originally got, because each of the cards has their own meaning, but it can be tweaked by the card that came before it, or even the card that comes after it. And, on down the line, you can shift those meanings quite a lot. In fact, sometimes it'll kind of almost flip it to, an opposite meaning at times.
So you're looking at the relationships of the cards.
Yes.
Which is fascinating to me. There's an Australian reader I watch every so often, Ellie Dreams Down Under, and she has, it feels like the same meanings for the cards as one does with the Celtic cross, but she does it in more of a 2-row thing. She'll lay out the first 2 and then draw 4 and then draw 4. So she's got the same meanings attached to it, but she does take time to look and see at the relations with each card as they are, how they are seated against each other or near each other. And, so for me, that means my one card pull is like, what do I need to know today, isn't always useful. So having more than one card when you're looking at them is helpful because it gives you a context.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. You can if you pull 3 cards, that's a real, I'll do that in the evening just before I go to bed. I'll pull 3 cards and just kind of, okay, what's tomorrow going to be like? And it'll give me, some, okay, I need to watch out for that. Or, okay, that's going to happen. That'll, it'll start to come together. And so, yes, but the single card, I don't mind it. I think a single card is fine. It's just sometimes difficult to get the full meaning if you're just looking at that one. Sometimes you need a little clarification. You need something that's just gonna temper it a bit. So, yeah.
But I love the idea of not having a really Celtic cross. You've got the significator and the obstacle, and then the one below, and all that, and then all those up the side. And there's so many different ways to interpret what that position indicates. And I've always had a problem with those 4 on the column. It's like, I know that one's spheres and that one's something and that was something and that's outcome. So
that's outcome. Yes.
Yeah. So
the Celtic cross, I have always taught it in every class that I've ever done, simply because you need to know it if you're going to be a reader. It's just one of those, it's part of being a reader. It has to be included. I only use it if someone asks for it specifically, or once in a great while, I'll have something show up that's like, oh boy, it sounds like a bit more of an involved question, and I might use it, but I avoid it. Like I just really don't like the Celtic cross because it contradicts itself at times. You end up with, variable, like you've got 2 outcome cards now. If the top one of the layout, that's an outcome card, as well as the one at the top of the right side. So then you have to, okay, well, this is the immediate outcome. This is the overall outcome. Yeah. I mean, so which is it? If you've got an immediate outcome that looks really positive and the overall outcome is like, well, which is it? And to me, that's it. Let's not make it more confusing. Let's keep it, because as humans, well, most of us are not capable of too much conscious thought. We have to be really careful and take it in small doses.
Yeah. And then everybody wants to know, how is this going to end? It's like, well, it's not written in stone.
Exactly.
You could turn left outside of the door and have one outcome, and right outside of the door and have a different one. So nothing's written in stone. I emphasize that when I'm doing a session or a reading with somebody. So, okay. So the tarot, it's got the suits, it's got the arcana, oracle cards. What's the difference?
What's the difference? Well, in basic, simple terms, the tarot deck has 78 cards, 22 of which are the major arcana, and then the rest are the numeral cards and the court cards. So that's your deck, and they do not vary. I mean, there are a couple decks out there where they'll add 4 more cards that, I don't know, 4 more court cards. Oh. They do. There's a couple of people that will, but generally speaking, 99.9% of the decks that are on the market, if they're marked tarot deck, they should have 78 cards.
Okay.
An oracle deck, on the other hand, can be whatever you decide. I mean, you can have 35 to 50 to 70. I mean, you can have any number of cards that you want, and they will generally be a little more self-explanatory, perhaps.
Self-contained?
Yeah, a little bit more. I find
the cards are kind of self-contained, but then each of the tarot decks. So maybe that's not true. Okay. I find that they will have a theme. I prefer, it's funny, the oracle deck I prefer is called the Psychic Tarot, and it's technically not a tarot, but I don't want to get too caught up in that explanation. But okay. So an oracle deck does not meet at least those physical criteria of the suits and the court cards, because I've got a deck that's got, what is it? Mother, father's brother, is it sister? I think it's, okay.
That could be, I've got my very first deck that I ever bought, the Heindel, and it uses mother, father, son, daughter as your court, rather than
Tarot of the Spirit. That's the one I've got that does that. Okay. So so with an oracle deck, they have, it feels like a common theme, like the goddess oracle, or earth magic is another one I like to use, and psychic tarot, which is not tarot, it's oracle. So you have developed one. You have developed an oracle deck.
I have been working on an oracle deck. Yes.
Okay. I'm
hesitant. I'm hesitant to say it's developed because I'm still working on the book, especially.
It's in development.
It's in development. Yes, as it will probably be for many months to come. I mean, things shift and change all the time. So, but I did manage to print a sample copy of the deck, and I've enjoyed it. It's been an interesting thing to work with. So, excuse me.
What prompted you? Oh, okay. Do we need to? Okay, do your thing. Good. I'll take a drink of water too.
I don't know why I'm dried out.
Okay, so
there we go.
So your deck is in process.
Yes.
It's an ever evolving. What prompted you? What got you started on developing your own deck? Your own deck. I think this wants to be your signature deck right now.
Well, my interest in the tarot, especially, but then I looked at the tarot's been worked and reworked so many times that it's like, okay, I could do that, but it would just be one of. So I decided I would go a little different direction, and I kind of violated all my own rules because I especially do not like tarot decks that have the meaning written at the bottom. The one word meanings at the bottom, because they just, rarely do they conform with, you know, what I'm getting from the card.
And so, I'll give a disclaimer. It's like, don't read the caption. Yeah. Because I'm going to look at the image.
And so, yeah, when I ended up with captions on all of my cards, it was that, yeah. But that's the point.
Sure.
Sorry. My interest is words. I love working with words, and I'm still not quite there yet. Hang on one second.
Okay, get that out. And then restate that, because I think that's important.
My interest is in words. I work with words all the time. In fact, my psychic work is words, because I've always described my experience in reading that I will get right up in the upper right corner of my vision. I'll get a headline, and it'll sometimes, it's a different font every time that it comes up, but it's a single word or a small phrase. But it's like, okay, that's the point. And so then I kind of, you know, figure out how I get a support for that. For example, we were doing an exercise one day, and I was working with someone right across from me, and the only thing that kept popping up was the word technology. Technology just was there. And I said, I don't know what this means, but every time I look, I'm seeing technology. Well, she was inundated with technology at the moment. She was trying to build a website. She was trying to put all this stuff together, and nothing was working properly. And it was like, yeah, technology is the bane of her existence at that moment. And so, I mean, it's that to me. And so that's what I did with this, is I kind of used words that have appeared, as well as some that, you know, just seem to come to me. And I also had the backgrounds that I had worked with, and there'll be lots of comment on that, I'm sure. But anyway, whether the quality of those, but the backgrounds fit the words. And then I numbered the cards, and there are 52 cards in this deck. And the numbers worked out numerologically to fit the words and the colors, and it just fit. It was, to me, that was amazing. Because I really didn't. I have a list here somewhere. But I went through each one and numbered them, and then when I went back to look, it was like, oh, that really fits. And
how cool!
Yeah, it was amazing.
I love that.
So
I love that. Okay. Cool. So words, that's when I'm working with people, I talk to them about their use of language. Like, you know, lately sarcasm has come up. The universe doesn't recognize sarcasm. And I know it's other people's love language. And I have a problem understanding that, because I don't see it. And so with you using these words, and you know, I can see the cards being used as what is my word for the day.
Okay. Good point.
That was something I was saying. Oh yeah, I love my dictionary.com email every day. I just
oh, I get that too. I never
love it. And it's so applicable.
No, really.
There are times I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I get that.
I'll have to start paying more attention.
Oh yeah, it's great. But having a card give you that focus, because there are a lot of times, you know, you'll pull a card, like you were saying, and in the evening you'll pull cards to give you a focus for the next day. And I could see that happening too, because some folks don't. There are so many different ways to process information. Some people are verbal, right. Some people are what is it, verbal, auditory, kinesthetic,
yes.
Kinesthetic, and that sort of thing. So this is another way to access it. I love how the different components have come together, because when you did your reading on me, for me, there were colors there, and then of course I was prompted to ask, do they mean anything? Of course. I don't think there's going to be a deck or any card that's going to have just some kind of, nah, put it there, just I needed to fill that space. There's a lot of purpose in this. And so knowing numerology is the next thing I want to learn about. So, so I've seeing how the numbers and the words and the colors all fit together, I hadn't sussed that out when I was introduced to your cards.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what other questions do I want to ask? Do you have a name for him yet?
You know, of course, the name of my podcast and everything else is the Oracle Scroll. So I may end up with that. I don't know. But
it ties everything together.
It does. You're right. And it's branding. That's yeah. So I've had a couple of names bouncing around in my head, but yeah, branding may indicate that I need to stick with what I've got, just so I don't confuse anybody.
Okay. No, that's great. I like that. The Oracle Scroll. Don't get cheesy and put one of those old, like, what was it? It's you know, those when people were printing things up on paper, they used those papers that looked like a scroll. Don't do that, please.
I almost did when I was starting out, but we were lucky enough when we were doing Mystical Winds. We bought this image from Missy Milne. I guess, I hope she doesn't mind me mentioning her name. She designed this image, and we bought it from her as our logo, basically, for that. And we fell in love with it. So we just, even after we were no longer the proprietors on that venture, we kept the bird just to make sure we could still use it. And it fits so perfectly. I know it. I mean, color all over.
It's got the color. It's got that feeling of, here we go. We're taking flight. We're not flights of fancy, but this is allowing people. I'm going to read a whole lot into this, which may get kind of ponderous, but you know, it's always seemed to me, you know, the colors were brilliant because it encompasses so much. And the bird in flight, you're giving folks those tools they can use to actually take flight in their own growth and to move forward. And that's what I've appreciated about you. There's no judgment in it. You're like, nope, this is what I'm seeing, and here we go. And there's no pussyfooting around about it. You're just like, this is what we're seeing. And I know in our readings, I've looked at you like, what?
There's always going to be that. I do that to myself all the time. I mean, I'll look at it and go,
yeah, and that whole, like, I don't like that card, I'm not going to use it, and then it shows up again. So yeah.
No, that's one thing I've learned, is never discredit the cards that jump out of the deck, or the ones that just, you know, for some unknown reason show up. Always take them as there's something there. There's a meaning there somewhere. So
yeah, I was working with Winnie's online events for a while. She's taking a break, but I was asked to pull cards. And one of the other practitioners here, Carmen Murphy, I said, no, I didn't like those cards. I put them back in, and Carmen Murphy's wagging her finger at me going, those are important. It's like, but I don't like them. And so I would pull cards again, which had the same message.
Yep. Well, and if you think about it, why did you not like them?
Because I couldn't read them right off the bat. I didn't have a punchline for them. So,
well,
that's my ego totally in the way.
It's that, or you're just not willing to face it yet.
Well, yeah.
And that's generally what it is. You're not willing. It's like, oh, I don't want to look at that yet. I had somebody do that to me once in a little fair that we were doing, and came and sat at my table to get a reading, and I began, and she's like, yeah, I don't want to talk about that. That's not why I'm here. And I said, well, then maybe I'm not your reader.
Yeah.
Because I can't I can't sort through. I'm getting what I'm getting, and if it isn't meaningful, or if you're not willing, I can't help you with that. So I had her find another reader, because it just wasn't going to work. So
that's been quite an experience. Those people who are Wonder Woman, and they're deflecting everything you're saying. Ching, ching, ching. And one person, I actually gave her money back to her, and I walked her over to another person. And some folks I didn't even sit with, and I said, no, I know who you need to talk to. And it's just
right.
That's just one of those things. That's the whole in-person fair experience.
Oh yes.
One day.
And we miss it, don't we?
We do.
We do.
But I tell you, Kevin, doing these things online, first off, there's so many more that I'm a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lorelei Shemaya was just like, here, we're going to do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. She's driven, and I'll say, I'll do that one, that one, that one. Yeah, maybe not that one, but I'll do them. And I am talking to people that I would not have talked to before.
Right.
I wasn't willing to drive down to Portland.
Right.
Because it's a drive.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
the furthest out I went was Ocean Shores.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's enough.
Yeah. And so now I'm meeting all these great practitioners in Oregon, and now I've got a couple of Canadians and maybe an Australian.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's exciting, and I love doing them. And tarot readers are able to be online. I love hearing that, saying, I drew this card for you. I drew these cards, and this is what I'm seeing, and hearing their interpretations is so awesome. So to think that energy doesn't travel through this sort of setup through Zoom, I think I don't agree with that.
No, I think it travels very
it travels
well.
everywhere. Yeah. Remote healing. Gee whiz.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
It works great.
Well, the whole principle of Reiki. Let's face it. Yes, we definitely have to recognize that is there. So
yeah, and it gets our names out to more people.
Sure.
So we've talked about your philosophy of tarot, your experiences, how you came up with the deck. I'm gonna have you. So we're just over an hour. Is there anything you want me to cover?
Well, let's show a couple of cards. How's that?
Okay. So we'll segue into that, because I'm going to edit out that other stuff. There's a bunch of this stuff I'm going to edit out.
Sure.
Once I was a temp, and I had to transcribe some conversations, and as I'm listening to it, she spent 45 minutes talking about stuff that wasn't related, and then 15 minutes of the meat of it. But I wrote it all out because I was supposed to do that, and she came up to me and she said, "Oh, you didn't need this." It's like, I'm transcribing. What do you want? That's right. Edit. I'm not an editor. So let me see. Do I have that? Let me find my notes on your reading for me. And it's probably not even in this one. Nope. I know I have so many notebooks now. And if I'm going to try and... Okay, never mind. Okay. So, your deck currently almost unnamed.
Right.
Pretty
At
much
this
unnamed.
Point, yeah.
Okay.
I'm still working on it.
I could throw out all kinds of really stupid ideas so that you know not to name it. But let's not waste time there. So you gave me a reading, playing with it, and you did a 3-card draw, and you gave me 2 of them, and 2 sets of 3. Honestly, it really did help me figure out what I needed to do with the steps I'm going to take to expand my brand, if you will, to expand my podcast opportunities. What I want to do is to formulate a meditation surrounding some words. So I want to get your thoughts on that first.
Okay.
Because I don't know if I want to tell somebody this is the word to look at. What ideas would you have about that? Just to have words floating around?
Well, the words, as when I look at them, they have, well, most of them have multiple meanings, something like the tarot cards. I mean, they're not just stagnant. There's some life there. So, picking a word to work from. Now, as I recall, when we did your reading, it was, I don't remember the words necessarily, but we had an abundance of 8s for numerology, and 8 is a get going. 8 is as launching, and it says all the work is done, all the planning is, you've done that already, so get with it. It's time to move. And you were in the middle of making some decisions at that point. So I think that, that was what it was addressing, really. And the words fit as well, as I recall. So
so those decisions have been made, and that's moving forward, and that's another thing altogether.
Right.
So do you think there's a nice, if you were going to pull a card, let's do that. How about you pull a card for our listening audience? And I'll rephrase that because that sounds so, I don't know, judgment.
No.
But no. How about that? If you would just pull a card and do a sample reading.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so looking at the greater good. Ooh, setting intention. See, that's part of it. Setting your intention. What is a card that would help anybody who could possibly be listening to this episode at some point in time?
I'm going to hold this up by my face so you can see it.
Okay.
The card I pulled is called Emergence.
Oh, nice. Okay, so we're looking at, you got the 4, the emergence, and I'll let you talk about it. I need to be quiet. So the card you pulled is?
Emergence, and it is a 4. Now, emergence is basically, not to be confused with emergency, emergence is coming out. Oh boy. And that is such a big job. And we, personally, I've had to come out multiple times in my life for various reasons. And I think that experience, even though it's a little challenging for a lot of people, is something that we all need to experience. If every one of us had to come out, oh my God, the world would be a different place, because it promotes understanding. It is a process that promotes healing. It promotes, that emergence is a rebirth. It is, even though I have a rebirth card in there, but this card is all about that process. And if you were
claiming your authenticity, we were talking about authenticity. Oh my God. Exactly. I love this.
And the 4, I look at the 4 as being sort of a respite card. It's like you've got the first 3 cards in the deck are work. And the 4 is like, okay, now let me see what I've done. Where am I going? This is the point in our process where we make adjustments and course corrections, and we're doing things a little, shaping things up so that we don't keep repeating mistakes, and we're able to, do the job that we need to do. So emergence, to me, that's a pretty powerful word. And it's just, and it kind of fits with what we were talking about with you. It's, once you do that, once you come out, and okay, for you, for example, you came out when the very first fair you ever did, that was a process of coming out. After your illness and coming back to get more involved, all of those are processes of coming out. And yes, the authenticity, that's the goal.
That is the overarching theme there. Coming out isn't necessarily, like we were talking about Eddie Izzard, it's not just coming out about your gender identity or your sexuality or any of that. It's removing that veil, that curtain, opening the door to who you truly are.
Exactly.
And accepting it when you accept it. When somebody else accepts it, it's nice, but I don't think it's always the point. It's important to have people who love and support you in whatever coming out you do.
Right.
But
it isn't absolutely necessary.
It's not absolutely, but you have to, but an individual has to accept themselves, and that could be that is a very complicated thing too. So I love that card, and what I would ask of you, if you could please get a picture of it so I can include it in whatever video component I do, please.
I will,
like when you pull the card, and then I want to do that. But I love that. I think that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. And then your colors, can you explain how the colors would relate to it, your background?
Well, when I look at and these are, they were not done together. So, but I have a large bit of green in the center. And green to me represents growth, expansion. The pink is also an expansion. It's kind of giving you that kind of almost pulsating kind of energy in the background. And to me, that is saying everything's there. Everything, it's just you get out of the way. That, and that's a speech I give myself quite regularly.
And it also kind of looked like a tunnel. So it's something to come through. Oh, that's something my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're coming through it or you're coming out of it. So it's something,
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and if we look around,
so I'll pre-order one.
If we look around ourselves at the world that we live in right now, a lot of people, when we talk about that authenticity, a lot of these people that we see all over our news every day have a very real issue facing their authenticity. I mean, just embrace it, accept it, and move on.
Or there's a fear surrounding, there's a lot of fear that's been cultivated, and I can see where that paradigm is shifting, probably not as fast and as for the ones that I would like to have shift, but that shifting of living in a place of fear or lack, that sort of thing. And so that's where we get into all kinds of things I don't want to deal with right now. I mean, never mind. I don't want to address that here, but it is authenticity and emergence and coming out into our own selves, coming out to ourselves and to others, and being our authentic selves and allowing, we can get all old biblical, allowing our light to come out from underneath that basket.
Yes.
That bushel.
Yes.
We
are our own worst baskets. we do so much to hide so we don't want to attract attention. And I see that, and I feel that sometimes, but I see that a lot. And so, it's let it out, let it shine.
Well, thank you, Kevin. This has been so lovely and enlightening and so much fun. And this has just gone places I'm so happy it went. So thank you.
Oh, good.
Thank you. So
you did a great job with you asked the right questions and you kept things moving. So good interview.
Thank you. I'll keep practicing. So what else do I want to do? Okay, so we'll do an outro real fast.
Okay.
And thank you. I love this. And the card was perfect.
Yes, it was, Linda.
It was.
It wasn't planned at all. It was just what came up.
It was perfect. Okay.
Good.
All right. So cue. So thanks for joining me, Kevin Walder. I so appreciate this. This has been a fabulous interview. The card was perfect. And of course, I love you and Todd. You guys are just the favorite people for me. And shining a light on so much. And I love y'all so much. So this is Susie Parker Goins of Blue Lightning Healing and Blue Lightning Healing Meditations. Go to the website, find the podcast. And Kevin, how can we find you?
Well, my website is kevinwalder.com. And from there, you can see all of my contact information. I'm also on Facebook under the Oracle Scroll, as well as Tarot by Kevin Walder. So come visit.
Yay. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. And enjoyed it very much. It was a lot of fun.
So it turned out that interview was a little shorter than what we want. So let's see what we can do. This is Susie from Blue Lightning Healing Meditations. Thank you for listening. I hope this becomes a regular part of your listening, your podcast listening. I have been so excited to do this because it gives me a chance to explore these topics that have been nudging at me, have been showing themselves to me. So it's not, I hope it not only helps your healing, I know it's helping my growth and my healing and makes me a better practitioner, if you will. Other things to look forward to are more interviews. I have my friend Jessica Martin lined up, who is an astrologer and the owner of Rabbit's Pantry. She makes teas with intention, organic, hand-packed. She's hand-packed. Some of the herbs are hand-picked. She grows a lot of them herself. And then there's my friend Wyatt Larson. I met him through the MeWe online events. He is a shaman. His website is thewildwoodhollow.com. And I have got lots of questions about what shamanism is and what it means and how do you do it. And these are opportunities for me to explore subjects that I'm interested in, and I'm ready to have preconceived notions crashed. Other podcast just topics where I do research include twin flames and soulmates, Kundalini, what is it? What does it mean? It feels to me it's going to be drawing together a lot of the information I gathered when I was doing my chakra episodes. So we'll see if those are in fact connected like I think they are. There's also some tools I want to explore. Pendulums, they used to mock me, and now I use them, not religiously, but I use them with more confidence. Tarot and oracle decks are interesting to me, and channeling. I got to figure out a way how to get channeling in a 1 hour time slot. That's a lot of channeling, so I probably won't be doing it alone. So thanks. You can check me out at www.bluelightninghealing.com. You can email me at Susie, S-U-S-Y, that's Susie at bluelightninghealing.com. Show up to one of the MeWe online events. That's join MeWe online. Yeah, JoinWeWonline.com. Lorelai's got all kinds of stuff set up. And as I add more events, check my website, see that I got them up there. So until next time, blessings.